Finally, something worth watching on CNN since the great Don Lemon left. Which means it's time for
Trump versus CNN. Insurrection 2. The rematch.
So last night, Donald Trump did a town hall on CNN, and it went over as well as a spelling bee hosted by John Fetterman. What's this? How dare you laugh at that? First, the standing O.
Former President Donald Trump.
We haven't seen a welcome that warm since someone came to The View with 2 cows and a bag of charcoal. What a great idea. Have a pro-Trump audience just to make the heads of what's left of the CNN audience explode. Remember, the only people who watch CNN work for CNN or other media. So seeing people applaud for Trump, that's worse than cheering for Jaws to eat more children. For an hour plus, Trump and his debate opponent, town hall moderator, Caitlin Collins, tangled. He talked and she under-talked.
To put in 7 ballots apiece.
But Mr. President,
and they're all
I
on
have
camera.
to stop you there because there is no evidence of that.
Obama took them, Nixon took them,
Obama
Reagan
did not take
took them.
documents. One question about what happened when you had those
included a raid on
documents.
my house. Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Like when Harry met Sally. Val Kilmer had an easier time speaking in the Top Gun sequel. Oh. He would have laughed. Trump was in front of a sympathetic crowd that laughed at his jokes and applauded his boasts while Collins feebly tried to keep up like a frantic schoolmarm. She tried to fact-check him on live TV, but with Trump, that's like trying to put socks on an octopus. Collins began by berating Trump for Jan 6th. I wonder, did Trump have to pull it out?
Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before. And this was in the form of Twitter. Now use Truth Social. I think it's far superior.
Always the promoter. And if you remember, he made a video right outside the Oval Office, and he didn't need a script because he doesn't need scripts like the person who's in there right now.
And if you remember, I made a video right outside the Oval Office in the Rose Garden, and I'm very proud of that video. I didn't have a script. I don't need scripts like a certain person that's in there right now.
As for E. Jean Carroll, maybe he doesn't know her.
I don't know her. I never met her. I have no idea who she is. Her dog or her cat was named Vagina.
I'm guessing it was her cat. It makes more sense. Hey, Vagina, where did you get the dead mouse? But is that true? And does it matter? Even if you hate Trump, you got to admit, you just don't get this level of realness from any other candidate. That's what it boils down to. Americans might find Trump annoying, untrue, or obnoxious, but you know what you're getting, and it's firing on all cylinders fast. If people don't want to keep paying twice as much for everything, they just want to feed their families, preferably using a gas stove. They want to live their lives without the intrusion of these miserable elites. And Trump even makes the debt ceiling hilarious.
You once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the Oval Office.
That's when I was president.
So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president.
Can't argue with that. But also, Trump gets the media in a way no other candidate in American history has, which means he knows how to handle the people who lie to us every day. I wish I could get him to talk to my cable company. But the liberal response was as predictable as it was idiotic. AOC says CNN should be ashamed of themselves for losing control of the town hall. A Daily Beast writer says CNN failed journalism and the American public. Well, the Daily Beast does no failed journalism. Everyone there is a failed journalist. Listen to these jackasses.
No surprises, and yet it was a disgraceful performance.
I'm not going to pretend like it was easy for me to see the former president get this forum tonight to lie to the American people over and over and over again.
I was wondering when he was going to be fact-checked in real time. I think we needed a chyron. This is a lie, this is a lie, this is a lie, this is a lie.
What I didn't know was that the audience would be filled with his cult. I would like to know if CNN was passing out Kool-Aid before the event started.
You know, usually to hear such inspired criticism, you have to watch an episode of Dancing with the Stars. So they're surprised it's contentious. They're outraged he answered their questions. They're offended that he wouldn't back down. How stupid are these people? It's exactly what everyone would expect. It's as if the media has never heard of Trump before. It's like they'd be surprised if he ate pasta with his hands or bragged about his penis at a funeral. That's how in sync they are with Biden. Now they have short-term memory loss. It's like they'd be surprised to find out the buildings were named after Trump and not the other way around. They're just a parade of morons. Then there's this. Following the town hall, CNN interviewed the audience.
Does it bother you that he keeps talking about 2020 and not 2024? How do you feel about those lies?
So I feel like part of it's also the media narrative, as you guys asked him the first question at the town hall about the 2020 election, rather than current stuff.
So don't you think he could say it's time for me to start talking about 2024, not lies that aren't true?
Couldn't the media ask him a question about 2024?
Well, there were questions, but you're right, that was the first thing.
Perfect. The media complains that Trump talks about the past after they ask him about the past. That's like asking a shark to leave you alone while you cover your naked body with barbecue sauce. Even CNN reported on how messed up CNN is, noting that their network boss is facing a fury of criticism within the company. But maybe that outrage is meant to cover their tracks for having Trump on. So, did this town hall help Trump for 2024? Didn't hurt. Hell, at least Trump knows where he's going compared to this fella. Can you imagine this confused fossil on stage for an hour getting peppered with gotcha questions from a hostile interrogator? It wouldn't be a town hall, it would be a town hanging. But with Donald Trump, when he enters the lion's den, it's the lion that gets nervous. Yes, welcome tonight's guest. She's our third favorite Molly after Ringwald and the drug. Editor-in-chief of the Federalist, Molly Hemingway. To do this show, he needed a permission slip from his parents. Host of the Guy Benson Show, Guy Benson. She's so skinny, kids from third world countries send her food. Fox News contributor, Kat Tiff. And hot air balloons have him on a no-fly list. My massive sidekick in the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Tyrus. Guy, always a pleasure to see you, and I mean that. This time, I was surprised to see you in the green room openly weeping about how great you thought Trump did. You were basically saying, oh my God, thank God he's back. I think it was amazing. You know, I didn't expect that from you.
Because I didn't do that, but that's fine. It's a good story. I'm so confused by the cat name joke. Maybe you can explain that to me at some point. Although he's like, I don't know her at all, but I know her cat's name. Okay.
Coming from a guy named Guy.
There is something, fair hit. There is something sort of delicious about CNN having their best rated show in recent memory, which is like an average night for the 5, but for them it's really good. And they are tearing themselves apart for it.
Right.
That is wild to see. And their own correspondents are trashing their own network for having this forum with the man who is the leading candidate for president of a major party. Like, what are they supposed to do? Not ask questions of a candidate? Blackball him completely? Like, we can't normalize him. I have issues with Trump. He was president of the United States. He is normalized whether you like it or not. He's running for the office again. Maybe you don't want to have a Thunderdome of his fans cheering him on, putting Caitlin Collins on an island out there.
Yes.
But what do they want to do? It's supposedly a news network.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Dave. The thing is, I think, and this is my conspiracy theory, Molly, that all of this complaining from within the house of CNN is designed so that they could do this. It's like, look, that's their cover. What do you make of that conspiracy?
I don't know. I mean, they are so desperate because they have such horrific ratings that I thought it was kind of interesting that they did this. But seeing Jake Tapper near tears after it was an extra special delight in addition to getting to see what happened there. But this is not just the former president. This is the far and away top candidate for the next Republican nomination. The idea, the media meltdown over this means that they don't really trust the American people. Ask him questions, get the answers, trust the American people to make the decision.
Yes.
But they don't. They basically handled everything by silencing him for the last few years, and it actually counterintuitively made it all that more refreshing to see him. You're not sick of hearing him for the last few years.
Absolutely.
So it was wow, I forgot this was great.
Yeah, it's actually you kind of missed him because if you saw, remember he could be pretty tiresome. I don't know if you remember that guy. You're only 12. But what was amazing about CNN before I go to CNN didn't have just one big panel. They had 2 big panels. It's like, let's get double the panel to trash Trump. And then they had one guy there. I think it was Byron Donalds and this other dude we don't know. But anyway, it was hilarious. Kat, what did you make of this?
I feel like it's exactly what anybody could have expected and exactly what we've seen a lot before every time Trump's on TV, which is why I thought just all of these reactions were just all extremely dramatic. I think saying, this is the end of the country. I don't think so. Or even like Chris Lick said, America was very well served by this. It's like, no, it was about ratings.
Yes.
But that's what people do all the time. But I think I'm going to start taking it up for myself.
Yeah.
People are like, why? Like, Kat, why did you do that? Which I get asked a lot. I'm just going to say because I love my country.
That's great. That is good.
Kat, why are you so mad at me? Because I love my country. It holds a lot more weight than just saying I'm upset or because, I wanted ratings or I wanted attention. I feel like everyone employs it, so why can't I?
You know what? He had a great answer on Ukraine. And the media basically said he was soft on Russia because he refused to commit on who should win. And he was holding himself to the metric of the body count.
We gave a presidential answer.
Yeah.
He wants to stop killing. Doesn't care. He doesn't see Russians die. He wants to see Ukrainians die.
Yeah.
That's a presidential answer. But two things. The timing of it wasn't great because it changed the news narrative. We're not talking about Hunter and his stuff today.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not talking about the Biden corruption. So that was one reason that I wish it would have been more spaced out because they're going to try to use this. And to your point, 1,000%, there was a meeting where they will publicly bash it.
Yes.
And bring him on because that will keep it going. They need him. So, and the moderator, I'm not sure what was being moderated other than his responses, it's her turn now. But she has to be careful because Acosta and the other ones, they all got books out of it and they became part of the story. And I always say, whenever a so-called journalist or an opinion piece or whatever it is you want to be, when you become part of the story, your time is done. It's only a matter of time before people move on and they won't take you seriously anymore. That's why, where's Acosta?
Yeah.
Where's the whole group? Half has been fired because they were the story.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to be the story again. But this time they think they're clever with having everybody bash CNN for doing it so they can keep the news cycle going because everyone's focused on Trump and you're trying to give a break to Biden. The good news about that is all you have to do is wait for Biden to speak and him get lost on a 3-foot podium, and then it kind of switches back.
Yes, that's true. Well, I'll never become part of the story because I don't do stories.
You do a good but you narrate.
Yeah.
But don't be part of the story.
Yes, exactly.
She's part of the story now. So
Yeah.
get your book and.
Yeah, I love the white pantsuit though. It's very nice.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.